What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Stokastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. Days blending together a little bit here. Wintertime sucks, but we're a couple weeks away from the Olympic break, so there's going to be a lot of slates and then like a month off. So here we are. There's a 4-game slate last night. Didn't play. I was busy, but we do have a 10-gamer here tonight. GPPs are fairly solid. A couple teams on a back-to-back here tonight. The biggest favorites like minus 180, and there's a bunch clumped like from like 140 to 160. So it should be a pretty tight slate. If you sort the top stacks by ownership, you get a little nauseous looking at the teams that are getting ownership, but that should make for a fairly good slate. Joining me to break it down, some Cliffy, what's going on?
Yeah, not a whole lot. Interesting 4-gamer last night. Vegas only scored 3 goals. Jack Eichel figured in on all 3. Stone had a goal and assist. They did well. Obviously, Ottawa had a pretty good game last night. New York Rangers, man, what can you say? They put up an 8 spot. I think it was their highest single game goal total in 15 months, something like that. So, Ottawa kind of went to town. We do have 10 games on the board here tonight. Interesting enough, like you talking about how, it's not very many massive favorites. Like a lot of the big boys aren't playing tonight. Like obviously you have Edmonton and Toronto, but, Colorado's not on the board. Tampa Bay is not on the board. There are some, obviously there's still some pretty good teams and players, but that's why, like you mentioning, there's not a lot of big favorites and that, there's no Tampa and there's no Colorado and things like that. No Carolina. Like some of the big teams are off tonight. So like, it's one of those, like, I don't mind, like we'll get to each individual game and matchup, but like if there's a line coming in with high ownership that I'm not particularly fond of, I think it's pretty easy to get away from them on a slate like this, right? Because, you're not worried about not playing some 11K line that's coming in with a ton of ownership and then having them go off when Nathan McKinnon decides to just, drop his nuts on the slate. So I kind of like slates like this where you don't, there are, like I said, there are still some big boys. We'll get to Edmonton, obviously, but I think you're kind of free to go just about anywhere, and that's what I prefer when we get slates like this.
Yep, me too. I'm not sure why they're doing landscaping in January, but if you hear noise in the background, they are mowing the lawn. HOA fees to work in January, but let's get into this slate. Before we do, I know with the new site, with everything that happened, our referral link is down, but we do have a promo code for you that does track our signups. It is promo code PUCKLUCK. That'll get you 15% off any subscription. Doesn't have to be an NHL. Obviously, PGA started again today. MMA starts up again next week. We have NHL, obviously, NBA, NFL playoffs. We did have a question in the chat. That was a good one. Can I use that promo code if I had an existing monthly membership? So what you have to do if you're already signed up and you're not under the code is you can cancel your membership. It'll still run through the date where it would normally renew. But once you hit that renew date and it doesn't renew, you can go back in and use that promo code. It'll go under us, and we appreciate it. So let's get into this slate. First game on the board, Vancouver Canucks with a 2.9 total. Heading into Columbus, the Blue Jackets have a 3.6. Columbus going Fantilli, Marchenko, Sillinger, Monahan, Jenner, Johnson, Coyle, Voronkov, Olivier. Vancouver is going Pettersson, DeBrusk, Carlson, Garland, Besser, Kampf. That's really all you really need.
I think they broke that up. I think it's O'Connor, Sass, and Besser on the second line now, and then Kampf, Garland down on the third line.
Okay. Cool. I mean, I'm not really interested in second and third lines of Vancouver. On the Vancouver side, it honestly would just be top line or bust here. They're 14,100. Pettersson, DeBrusk, and Linus Karlsson. 2.7% top two, 2.9% projected ownership, right in line there. It's a good matchup against Columbus. Like, they're not good defensively. They don't have a very good penalty kill. It's just like, is Vancouver anything special on the power play? They're on to their third power play quarterback in the last 4 games, Yves Buium. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, is quarterbacking this one. He's probably their best option, for being honest. Their power play still isn't great, but that top line has been very good in a limited sample. So if I was playing Vancouver, it would definitely be that top line. They're not a priority for me, but they're 14,100. It's not a filler, but it's a cheap mid-range build line where you can get heavy minutes and good production. But my interest is on the Columbus side here. It's a all-around very good matchup for the Blue Jackets. I just hate these lines. Fantilli, Marchenko, Sillinger in their 3 games together are creating well. They just haven't scored yet. 16,600, 7.1% top two, 10% projected ownership. A little bit of negative leverage there. Nothing awful. I don't really love playing a Cole Sillinger line. They love him. New coach still loves him. The big news that I got from Rick Bowness, first game behind the bench, he played Ken Johnson over 20 minutes. We can certainly allow that on this show. The problem is that line, Monahan, Jenner, Johnson, 12,200, 2.6% top two, 11.2% projected ownership. Pretty sure that's one of the highest negative leverage on the board. They've been excellent in a 40-minute sample, though, and they also get bottom 6 matchups of the Canucks. So, like, do I really want to play a 11% Columbus line on a 10-game slate? Probably not. But you do get Ken Johnson on the top power play for 3,400. So if you wanted to leave off Sillinger and add in Ken Johnson, it adds 100 to that stack because it becomes 16,700. It's fully correlated. Yes, all 3 guys will be double-digit owned, but yes, that combination of those 3 players will be under 10%. So that's probably where I would go. Again, if you want to go to Coyle, Voronkov, Olivier at 11,200, they're coming in fairly low owned. Charlie Coyle had his career night the other night. Feels kind of chasey, but they have been excellent in a very small sample, and there are no matchup concerns. But I would probably just go to the top line. If you want to leave off Sillinger, I would add in Johnson for an extra $100, get a nice power play stack.
Yeah, listen, I'm not like a massive fan of the Vancouver Canucks, but a couple things here. One, Erica Branson is back for Columbus, and that guy is just not good. Like, I don't know what to say. I'm sure they love him in the room. I'm sure like he's a nice guy or whatever. He shouldn't be getting a regular minutes in the NHL. The other thing is Dante Fabro skating with Zach Werenski. Remember, Fabro was there quite a bit last year, and they were, at least they were pretty good offensively together. He hasn't been there nearly as much this year, and it's because they weren't very good. Fabro and Werenski on the ice, 36 shots against per 60 minutes this season. That is like Anaheim, San Jose last year type of stuff. That's the shutdown matchup that they use. And on top of that, we've got Elvis Merzlikins starting and not Jack Greaves. To put that into a little bit of context, Elvis Merzlikins, nearly 7 goals saved under expected in 15 games, like costing his team nearly a half goal per game, compared to Greaves, who is saving them about a half goal per game. Like, it is quite, like, by goal saved above expected, it's about a full goal difference between the two. And I'm pretty sure Merzlikins' goals against average is over 4. Listen, I'm not a fan of the Vancouver Canucks here, but when you have Merzlikins, when you have a bad shutdown top pair, and you have this Vancouver top line, honestly not coming in with that much ownership, under 3% ownership, 2.7% top 2 stack, 14,100. Because there's not a lot of top lines on the board, they fit in with a lot of other than basically Edmonton, like you can fit them in with Pittsburgh, San Jose, Vegas, Winnipeg, anything. You know what I mean? So like, again, I'm not super stoked about playing the Canucks here, but this is a pretty good matchup for them. In that top line for Vancouver, 69 shot attempts, 4.9 expected goals per 60 in over 60 minutes together. Like they've been creating, and I don't know. If this was Grief starting, I would probably just bypass Vancouver entirely. But Merzlikins, like, this guy's terrible. Like, there's a reason why they turned over the starter's job to Jet Greaves, who's like 23 years old and had like 15 career starts going into this season. It's because Merzlikins is just, maybe he's a low end backup. He's probably not even an NHL goalie. I really do like Vancouver one here tonight. Obviously, the Columbus side is that they have a 3.6 total. There should be a lot of ownership coming in on Columbus. You mentioned that Monahan Jenner line, not a big sample yet, but even just Monahan and Jenner, just the two of them, have been creating extremely well this year. Problem is, I do want to get guys that are in on the power play because it is a good power play spot. Vancouver, bottom 10 penalty kill in the last 5 weeks, bottom 5 penalty kill over the course of the season. They don't take a ton of penalties. It's not like Columbus's power play is a world beater, but this is about as good of a power play spot as Columbus is going to get. So I'm going to be honest, no matter whether I go Columbus 1 or Columbus 2, I would probably add in Charlie Coyle just for that extra power play exposure. I would lean Columbus 1 here just because I feel more certain about their ice time. I'm not going to rely on Kent Johnson getting 20 minutes a game or whatever. So, that top line without Voronkov there is still at 3.1 expected goals for per 60. The other night, Marchenko and Fantilli were around like 19 to 20 minutes. Fantilli has 30 shots in his last 10 games. I'd be kind of fine with like Marchenko, Fantilli, Coyle, like doing something like that. So for me, it's Columbus 1 is my favorite line in this game, but given the poor shutdown matchup on the Columbus side and their goalie, I think Vancouver 1 is very firmly in play as a cheap, midline stacker, expensive filler.
For sure. It would be the only one. If you want to one off one of the like Besser or whatever, it's fine. But like that top line has been very good.
Do you know Brock Besser has 1 goal in his last 28 games?
7 years, $49 million. Montreal Canadiens with a 3.3 total heading into Buffalo. The Sabres have a 3.2, excuse me. Buffalo going Thompson, Tuck, Benson, Zucker, McLeod, Quinn, Doan, Norris, Ostlund. Now, Norris got hurt in the last game. They haven't skated since. The coach made it sound like it's not too serious, so he might play tonight.
Man, given his injury history and the fact that it's a back-to-back, like I know it's an important game for standings. Hey, if you couldn't play the entire third period, I don't think he's going to play 24 hours later. If this was like 99% of other NHLers, I'd be like, yeah, maybe. But considering Norris just can't stay healthy, I don't think they're going to chance it.
Yeah, it is a 7 p.m. start, just in case you are interested in playing Josh Norris. Montreal is going Suzuki, Caulfield, Texier, Slavkovsky, Demidov, Kapanen, Danault, Bolduc, Anderson. I don't know, man. Like Columbus 1 coming in at 10%. Montreal 1's $100 cheaper, coming in at 3.6%. Obviously, the top 2 is a little lower at 5.5%, but they have been excellent in a 105-minute sample, 3.9 expected goals, 5 actual. Like if Thompson, Tuck, and Benson stick, like Thompson and Benson have played a bunch together this year. Not very good defensively. Now, that a lot of that was when their blue line wasn't super healthy, so maybe it improves there. But like Montreal 1 has been excellent since Texier has gotten there. I do like them as a pivot off Columbus here. If you are worried about ownership, not something I'm generally worried in, but I do like Montreal 1 here. They would be my preferred line on Montreal. If you want to go to Montreal 2, that's fine, but they're 14,500. And honestly, in that price range, I'd rather just go play Vancouver 1. They've been excellent. So it would be Montreal 1 for me. On the Buffalo side, like Thompson, Tuck, and Benson is nice in theory, but it's a good power play matchup, and they're going to be running into the Suzuki line, which has been fairly good defensively. I still think it's fine because Thompson and Benson have been excellent together this year, and I wonder if Benson takes the power play spot if Norris is out.
Noah Ostlund took the top power play role after Norris got hurt last night.
Okay. That would make Ostlund and Doan on the third line fully correlated. Well, it depends who's the center, but like Doan and Ostlund, 7,800 for the two of them. Going to see middle six matchups of the Habs, which is generally nice. If you want to turn that into a power play stack, you can add in Thompson or Zucker. I think in a nutshell, the top line's fine, but it's a tough 5-on-5 matchup, and the correlation is really bad. The second line is fine from the sense that they'll see like third and fourth lines from the Habs. And they have been good in a 90-minute sample, but I want to get more power play guys in. If you wanted to leave off like Quinn or something, add in Doan or add in Ostlund if Norris is out to make it a little bit cheaper. I think that's fine. But, yeah, I would do some sort of power play stack because that top line in a nutshell, 17,000, 11.7% top two, 12.9% projected ownership. Coming in against Montreal, one is their only really good defensive line, and the power play correlation is bad. So I'd find a way to get some power play guys in.
Yeah. On the Montreal side, like I'm wearing a Habs hat, Montreal fan. I really do like the top line here tonight for the Habs. Like you said, 4 expected goals per 60 with Texier on the top line. Not getting a ton of ice time of late. Suzuki around 20 in his last 5 games. Caulfield, Texier 16 to 17. I wonder if it's because there's that game against Vancouver with 6. If it ended 6-3, but it was like 6-1 or 6-2. They didn't really need to. There's that game against Detroit where they're, behind 2 or 3 goals halfway through. So there's the game where they blew out the Panthers. I don't think there weren't a lot of close games. I'm not super concerned about them not getting a ton of ice time. But one thing Buffalo's been doing more lately at home is sending out Power and Byram as a shutdown matchup. Now, they still use the Samuelson-Dahlin pair a fair bit, but they've been using Byram and Power more. And that pair's at 2.8 expected goals against per 60. That's significantly below average, like 15% below average. It's not very good. I think it's a solid matchup for Montreal. One, Buffalo has had a good penalty kill basically all season, but it has been starting to slide closer to top 10 rather than top 2, as it had been over the first couple months of the season, over the last 5 weeks or so. So I really don't mind Montreal 1 here. If you want to take off Texier, put in Demidov or something like that, make it more power play stack, that's fine. But Texier's played very well with that top line. I do like Montreal 1 here at 16,500. On the Buffalo side, Benson and Thompson, going back to last year, 64 shot attempts, 2.9 expected goals for per 60. Very good numbers. Like you were saying, the power play correlation isn't good. The thing is I'd almost be more tempted to take out Benson than take out Tuck, right? Just because Tuck is probably going to lead them in ice time even without top power play minutes. I was looking earlier. Tuck is average over his last 27 games, which is 1/3 of the season. He's averaging 2.8 shots and 0.82 points, a 75-point pace over his last 27 games, and he's doing that without top power play time. The guy gets involved shorthanded, empty net, obviously gets a lot of even strength time. So I'd be tempted to go Tuck, Thompson, Doan or something like that. Josh Doan, his game last night, holy hell. That guy, it feels like 12 months from now, we're going to be seeing a bunch of articles about how Josh Doan is, a star in the league. And I think he's a star right now. He's just kind of being hidden, playing 15, 16 minutes a night. Man, he's good. But if he is on the third line with Peyton Krebs, Not super excited. Like, I'd be tempted to swap out Benson, put Zucker there to make it more of a power play stack. Obviously, it's a good power play matchup for Buffalo. They have had a very good power play this year, 13.3 goals per 60 with the current configuration with Zucker and Doan. So, like, this is a great power play matchup for Buffalo. I would be tempted to go like Thompson, Tuck, Doan, Thompson, Tuck, Zucker, something like that. I honestly think I like Montreal's top line the best in this game.
Philadelphia Flyers with a 2.8 total heading into Pittsburgh. The Penguins have a 3.3. Philly going, well, last night they went Dvorak, Zegras, Konechny, Michkov, Couturier, Grunstrom, Tippett, Cates, Grabankin. Big news there was Dan Vladar got hurt. Sam Urson played most of the game yesterday. They called up Alexei Kolosov, so it's either going to be Urson on a back-to-back or Alexei Kolosov, who has been fine in the AHL, but he was terrible in the NHL last year. Pittsburgh going Crosby, Rust, Raquel, Kindle, Mantha, Brazeau, Malkin, Novak, and Igor Chinnikov. That's probably why he's not in top stacks, because he took the Y off his name. Pittsburgh won 20,900, 21.7% top two, 10.7% projected ownership. Heavy positive leverage here. It's a good 5-on-5 matchup against that Dvorak line. They haven't been very good defensively. They're shooting on either back-to-back Urson or Alexei Kolosov. The problem is, like, it's a similar problem to the other game. It's like with Carlson out, who's moving the puck? And you kind of saw it come to fruition against Tampa. They couldn't do anything. I don't know if I want to spend 20,900. Now, the positives are they're shooting on a AHL goalie, and it's a good 5-on-5 matchup. But 20,900 is a steep price to pay. You have Edmonton above them, and then there's a bunch of lines below them. Like, from a matchup and goalie perspective, it's a good one. It's just like they have no one to move the puck. And, you know, Philly's decent enough to really slow down the pace. Like, I'm not sure I want to commit 20,900 for that. So I'm kind of out on Pittsburgh. If you want to play them, like, they have a lot of good things going for them. I'm just worried about the puck moving. If you want to use Kindle, Mantha, Brazeau as a filler or something, if you're power play stacking Edmonton or power play stacking Vegas, I guess it's fine, but it's a similar issue. They just are half the price. So kind of mum on Pittsburgh here. Not super excited about the Flyers either. I think I would go just straight to the top line here. Dvorak, Zegras, Konechny, 15,600, 6.2% top two. 8.2% projected ownership. You know, it's not a great power play matchup, but the Flyers are never in a good power play matchup. The Crosby line with Raquel there has been giving up over 3 expected goals against per 60. You know, that Dvorak line is creating 3.2 expected goals per 60. So I go right to the top line here. Not super thrilled about them. Not really super thrilled about Pitt. So, like, I'm probably treating this game as MMA.
Yeah. It's funny. I was looking at the top line. They're in their minutes without Erik Karlsson on the ice this year, and it's basically a microcosm of Erik Karlsson's entire career. The Pittsburgh top line gets a bit better defensively without Karlsson, and then much worse offensively. Without Karlsson on the ice, 54 shot attempts per 60 minutes, 2.3 expected goals for per 60 minutes. Like, those are just, I mean, they're below average. Pretty bad for how good that top line can be offensively otherwise. So, yeah, I'm with you. Like, if this line was 18-2, obviously they'd have a lot more ownership, but I think then it's a bit more of a conversation. But I don't know, the second most expensive line on the board without their only good puck moving defenseman. I mean, at that point, I hate to say it, I'd almost rather go play Vancouver's top line, save $6,000. I don't really see much of a difference in the two spots. So I'm out on Pittsburgh one. Like you said, if you want to go to the depth, I think that's fine. Like, yes, they're not going to have Carlson, but those depth lines don't play with Carlson as much as the top line does anyway. So it's not, I mean, it is still a big deal, but I don't think it's as big of a deal. Kindle, Mantha, Brazeau kind of stuck out to me. You know, Kindle and Mantha haven't played a whole lot together this year. Small samples has shown good offensive numbers. I would be more inclined to do like Kindle Mantha, Kindle Brazeau, like a cheap 2-man than I would be loading up. Like, I don't play $21,000 lines very often on slates this big anyway, and doing it for a team that doesn't have their best and perhaps only puck moving defenseman in the lineup, I think it's just a pass. You know, on the Flyers side, again, without Carlson, I do think the Penguins are much worse offensively, but it might actually make them a bit better defensively, right? So, you know, I think Zegras, Dvorak, and Konechny, 15,600, 6.2% top two stack is just fine. $900 more, you can go play Montreal 1. You know what I mean? There are a couple other spots in that price range that you can go to, that we'll get to later in the slate. Honestly, if anything, I would probably play Philly's top line here. But I think I'm with you. For me, this is probably MME only. I'm not super excited on stacking the forwards on either side.
San Jose Sharks with a 2.8 total. Heading into Washington, the Caps have a 3.7. I'm seeing conflicting lines for the Sharks here. I see some places have Celebrini, Eklund, Chernyshov, but then I see some places also have Celebrini, Chernyshov, Groff, and then Eklund on the second line with Wenberg and Toffoli. I can't find them.
Yeah. Sheng Peng has Colin Groff on the top line and Eklund on the second line.
I only saw Sheng Peng's GoFundMe so he could travel with the team on the road, which is wild. But
I mean, I think the Anaheim Ducks writers are doing the same thing. I mean, yeah, they have to.
Yeah. Washington is going. What am I doing here? There we go. Going Strome, Ovechkin, Ethan Frank, Leonard, McMichael, Protas. I think that was from, Skate yesterday. Chikrin's probably back, but they were practicing 4 forward, 1 defenseman the other day. I don't know if they're going to go 3-2 or 4-1 here, but Ethan Frank being on the top line is interesting to me. They are 18,300, 12.1% top 2, 9.6% projected ownership. There's no matchup concerns. Like, you know, Wenberg and Toffoli haven't been great defensively. A Macklin Celebrini line's never going to be great defensively. A Michael Misa line, definitely not going to be good defensively. You know what I mean? So I do really like that top line with Ethan Frank up there. He may see some top power play time. He may not, but he's definitely would be on the second unit, which, you know, Ovechkin plays anyway. So I definitely do like Washington 1 here. Washington 2 is fine, but, you know, for 15,500, I'd rather just go up to the top line and play them for 18,300. On the Sharks side, like, it's a good power play matchup, but John Klingberg is back running the power play. And these lines are a little bit tough because now if you know, they're correct, that second line is fully correlated. And I guess you could do it. They are 14,900, I believe, something like that. But, like, I'll just go play Vancouver 1 for less at that point. Like, I know it's a good power play matchup, but, like, how do you stack the Sharks power play without Celebrini? And they've made it way worse with Klingberg instead of Orlov. So, like, you know, one off Celebrini's fine, 2-man with Chernyshov, whatever. But I don't think I'm full stacking anything on the Sharks side.
Yeah. I do like Colin Graff as a player. The fact that line is 17,300 with like Chernyshov is good as well, but like Chernyshov and Graff on a line that's over 17K, it's only one guy on the top power play unit. That's like a kind of a yikes. I think San Jose is kind of fine here, but like you said, you only get one guy on the top power play unit from the top line in Celebrini. It is Logan Thompson starting. Chicken coming back ostensibly should make them better defensively, certainly offensively, maybe at least defensively. He's passable. Like, 17,300, I think it was. Like there are other lines like you can go play in that price range. We'll talk about Boston in a second. We just talked about Montreal at 16,500. Columbus top line, whether it was Sillinger or Coyle, would be in kind of the same price range. Like, I think there are just other spots that you can go instead. I'm probably just out on the Sharks here tonight. For me, it is the Caps, and the Caps top line is one of the reasons why, like, I don't really like Pittsburgh. 18,300 for Strome, Ovechkin, Frank. Like, Ethan Frank, his calling card is speed. I didn't realize exactly how fast he was when I was watching the Caps game the other night. When they were playing Montreal, they were saying his skates are in the Hall of Fame for the fastest lap ever in a skills competition, like at any level. That's kind of nuts. But he did get some top power, like you said, he did get some top power play time. I do wonder if they put Carlson back there. They don't seem to want to do the 3-4-2 defenseman unless they really have to. Maybe they just try to see if it works out with Frank. Either way, that top line, or the top guys on the top line, have been playing 19 to 20 minutes without Tom Wilson in the lineup. Like, they're not playing 16, 17 minutes as they often have this year. Like you said, there are no real matchup concerns coming back from the Sharks. So I really do like the Caps top line here. Frank, Strome, Ovechkin, 18,300. It is my favorite line in this game. I think you can dip down to the Caps second line. Like, there's no problem playing Leonard McMichael Protas at 15,500. But like you said, you can just play the top line for an extra 2,800 and kind of be on your way. I think that's kind of it for me. And like, it's not like the Sharks penalty kill is very good. We talk about how Washington's isn't good, like San Jose's penalty kill. Not exactly at the top of the heap either. Over the last 5 weeks, second most goals against per minute in the league. Over the course of the season, below average. So, like, started off bad and just kept getting worse. I like Washington 1. It's easily my favorite line in this game.
Same. If like Celebrini had like power play line mates and John Klingberg got traded to the Leafs for a first round pick, I'd be interested, but not tonight. Seattle Kraken with a 2.7 total. Heading into Boston, the Bruins have a 3.3. This is a 7 p.m. lock, but they are retiring Zdeno Chara's number tonight, so I don't know. Lines will probably be delayed, but like, it's the Kraken and the Bruins, so.
Well, and Bruins did have morning skate today, so we got that.
Yeah. Seattle going Beniers. Seattle played last night with Grubauer in net, and they lost. It's going to be Joey Decord tonight. Seattle going Beniers, Eberle, Kakko, Tolvanen, Schwartz, Stevenson, McCann, Wright, Catton. Boston going Lindholm, Pasternak, Kuznetsov, Geeky, Minton, Steves, Zaka, Arvidsson, Middlestat. Listen, like, on the Boston side, that top line is 17,100 with Kuznetsov. 70 minutes together, they're creating 1.9 expected goals for, scoring 4 actual, because Pasternak is a freak. But like, Lindholm and Pasternak never work well together. It's like Zibanejad and Panarin. It's like, can we just stop this experiment? It's a good power play matchup. It's a good 5-on-5 matchup, but I'm still more likely to go down to Minton and Geeky. If you want to leave off Steves and add in Pasternak for that extra power play, like, that's something I'd probably do. I mean, they have a 3.3 total, which is one of the higher ones here tonight. Seattle back-to-back on the road. It is Joey Decord, who has been unbelievable this season. That's the one thing. It's like, do I really want to – that top line's coming in at 10.2%. Do I really want to play a 10% Elias Lindholm on a 10-game slate? No. So that's why I'm going down to Minton and Geeky coming in at 1.4%. Adding in Pasternak or something like that, it will make it, 18-3, which kind of sucks because at that point I'll probably just go play Washington, but like it's something you can do in MME because Minton and Geeky in a small sample have been excellent together. You get Pasternak who plays wild amounts of minutes and has like 9,000 points in his last 3 periods. So that's probably where I would be on the Boston side. On the Seattle side, not a huge fan of Seattle back-to-back on the road. It is an excellent matchup, though. Boston's terrible. They take a ton of penalties. The problem is Seattle's power play is atrocious. I guess Montour could be back tonight, but I'm not sure how much that helps anyway. For me, I'd probably just go to that third line, Wright, McCann, just two-man them, see middle six matchups of Boston. They've been fine, but like I'm never going out of my way to play Seattle in single entries, especially back-to-back on the road. That would definitely be MME only. It's one of those things where I would never boost them. I'd just kind of put in whatever I would get. If I got too much, I'd knock them down. But their lines are so cheap that like they'll probably be in your runs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to start on the Seattle side here because I hate to say it, I don't mind the Kraken. They moved Jared McCann to the top power play unit, right? And why he wasn't there, I just don't know. But the Seattle top power play unit with Jared McCann on it, 9.2 expected goals per 60, 10.4 actual goals. The league average for a top power play unit is like 8.7, 8.8. So they're like a goal and a half better than league average with McCann there. And like Josh was saying, the Bruins take a pile of penalties. We say it every time they're on the show, 3.7 times shorthanded per game over the last 5 weeks. It's the highest rate in the NHL. Over the course of the entire season, 3.7 times shorthanded per game, also the highest by 0.3 power plays per game. There's a bigger difference between them and Florida, who are second, than Florida and Vancouver, who are in 11th. So the Bruins are by far the most penalized team in the league. Over the course of the season, 5th most power play goals against per game. Over the last 5 weeks, 2nd most power play goals against per game. This is a great power play spot for Seattle, and I think their top power play unit, they're not elite, but they're good. And good is enough against this Bruins team. Like the penalty kill itself isn't like they aren't the Florida Panthers where they take a ton of penalties but have a great penalty kill. Over the last 5 weeks, Boston's penalty kill is 23rd by goals against per minute. Over the course of the season, 16th. So at their absolute best, they were average while taking a ton of penalties. So I kind of like Seattle 1, but I would take off Kakko and put in either Stevenson or McCann. Probably McCann. But I'm not really worried about the 5-on-5 matchups that much from the Bruins side. And this is a tremendous power play spot for Seattle. They're not coming in with any ownership. The second line, under 1%, the top line, 1.5%. So if you make it Everly, Beniers, or McCann or something like that, there's going to be nobody playing them. I kind of like Seattle 1, but like I said, I would be tempted to turn into some sort of a power play stack. Like they're not that expensive. They're basically a filler stack. In what might be the best power play spot on the board here tonight. So if they're not in the best power play spot, then Boston might be, just because Seattle's penalty kill on a per PK basis might be pound for pound the worst in the league. That's why I would try to get some guys from the power play. Like I don't really like the Boston top line with Lindholm there. Like you were saying, and we've said it every time they're on the show, they just don't do all that well together. But if you want to take off Kuznetsov and put in Zaka or put in Geeky or something like that, I think that's the way I'd approach it. Like They are coming in with a lot of ownership. Joey Decord has been pretty good this year. So is Jeremy Swayman, though. So either way, on both sides, it's some sort of 2-man, 3-man power play stack, something like that. I would build around Eberle and Beniers on the Seattle side. Probably build around Pasternak and Lindholm. I think because you're stacking for the power play, I think he can take out Lindholm and just put in Zacha. You know what I mean? I don't find it necessary to play Lindholm tonight, though I will say Lindholm has 21 points in his last 22 games. You can thank David Pasternak for that. But it is power play stacks on both sides. I'm tempted more on the Seattle side here just because they are so much cheaper with so much less ownership and are in as good, if not a better power play spot than Boston is.
Winnipeg Jets with a 2.7 total. Heading into Minnesota, the Wild have a 3.2. Winnipeg going Scheifele, Connor Iafallo, Taves, Velarde, Perfidi. Minnesota going Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Urov, Boldy, Hartman, Johansson. I just don't really like these Winnipeg lines. Like, it's a good power play matchup, but the top line isn't fully correlated at 18,700 with Iafallo there. They haven't been creating a bunch. The second line hasn't been creating a bunch. Don't really want to go to the second line despite Taves and Velarde being on the top power play because you really want Kyle Connor there. So I probably just do like a one-off Kyle Connor or something like that if I was doing something on the Winnipeg side. It's not like their power play has been great either. That's why Jonathan Taves has been there. That's why Iafallo has been there. That's why Perfidi's been there. That's why
don't forget Nyquist.
Gustav Nyquist in 2026 was there. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't particularly love Winnipeg here. If I was going to do something with them, probably be one-offs from the power play guys. On the Minnesota side, I have a little bit more interest, but I still think it's probably MME. That top line with Urov there, 17,500, and they've been pretty good in their sample. They'll see, I know Lowry's back, so what am I saying? They'll probably see, first or second line matchups. The problem is at that price, like, I'm just going to spend the extra couple $100 to go play Washington against not Hellebuck. So I don't mind either of the top two lines for Minnesota. It's a pretty good matchup, and those lines have been pretty good, but 17,500 at 5%, 15,600 at 6%. There's just other lines in that range in better matchups that I prefer. In a nutshell, I don't have a problem with them, but I probably keep it to 20 max.
Yeah, I have no interest in Winnipeg here, just because the reason to stack against the Wild, like you mentioned, is because of their penalty kill, and the Winnipeg power play is pretty much as bad as the Minnesota penalty kill, and I don't want to rely on that. Like you said, I'd just rather go play Washington or something. So for me, it's the Minnesota side that has interest. I would probably go to the top line. I was looking at the top line's numbers since Quinn Hughes got traded there. 3.6 expected goals per 60. Now, only scoring 2.6 actual goals, but that's above average and only shooting 7%. So imagine if they actually start shooting like 9 or 10%, or God forbid, 11%. Zuccarello skating 20 minutes a game of late. Kaprizov around 23 minutes. I do like Minnesota 1 here. They're my favorite line. If you want to dip down to Minnesota 2, I think that's fine. But 15,600, Marcus Johansson is, kind of fallen off. His production, he has, I think it's 6 points in his last 10 games, but 4 of them came in one game when he had that four-point game. Like, other than that, like, he's not doing a whole lot. He's not shooting the puck. Ryan Hartman jumped to the top power play. That's nice, but he's not Joel Eriksson-Ek. I would go to Minnesota 1 here. I know, like, facing Hellebuck sucks, but this Winnipeg team defense is not what it was last year. They're giving up a lot more off the forecheck. They're giving up more off the rush. Penalty kill's not been that great. I do like Minnesota 1 here. I think they're kind of like a lower owned pivot if you don't want to play chalky Buffalo, chalky Boston, those types of things. I think Minnesota wants a pivot. It's really the only line I have any interest in this game.
Speaking of a game I have no interest in, Calgary Flames with a 2.9 total. Heading into Chicago, the Hawks somehow have a 3 total. Connor Bedard is back. Pretty sure the Flames mixed up their lines, right?
Yeah,
they're going Frost, Farabee, Huberdeau, Backlund, Sharangovich, Coronado, and then Kadri, Zari, Klapka. That's fun times. Chicago going Green, Burakovsky, Bedard, Bertuzzi, Mikheyev, Dickinson. These are just brutal Calgary lines. Man, I don't know. I watched some Flames the other night for reasons I need to talk to the therapist about, but like Morgan Frost is awful. He looked awful. Like, I don't know what that was about, but now he's in between Farabee and Huberdeau. I don't know, man. Like, I guess it would be that line because, you get Farabee and Huberdeau on the top power play unit, but like back on Coronado, Sharangovich at 12.7, 2.8% top two, 8.6% projected ownership. Like, no. Like a one-off Kadri makes some sense, I guess, but like I just do not like the Flames lines here. I guess by default it would be Frost, Huberdeau, Farabee. They're really cheap, but I just don't like them. And it's kind of the same thing on the Chicago side, right? I guess that top line is fully correlated now. They put Green on the top unit. That's got to count for something because the Flames penalty kill is awful. It would probably be that top line, 14,800, 2.8% top two, 3.7% projected ownership. That'd probably be the only line I'm interested in. I guess you could go to do like a 2-man Dickinson, Bertuzzi or something like that, Dickinson, Mikheyev. And I guess that's fine. But like, I think if you held a gun to my head and said you had to stack something from this game, it would definitely be Green, Burakovsky, Bedard.
Yeah, I mean, on the Flame side, I can say with relative confidence, I have a lot more interest in playing Spencer Knight than I do the Calgary Flames forwards. Like, they're trying to get Frost going because, like you said, he's not been playing well recently for a good chunk of the season. Like, there's a reason why he got demoted, the previous couple weeks. I don't really have interest in playing him. Kadri, Zari, Klapka, no. And then I was looking at Michael Backlund's numbers without Blake Coleman this season at 5-on-5, 54 shot attempts, 1.4 expected goals per 60. So like that's also a pass. If you want to one-off some guys, I'm like, okay, but I'm out on the Flames. Chicago side is more interesting. The top line, 63 shot attempts, 3 expected goals for per 60 minutes. They get depth matchups, which is both good and bad. Maybe they'll run into Backlund, but Backlund's defensive numbers haven't been that good without Coleman either. Like, it seems like Coleman's kind of the linchpin of that line now. So there's no real 5-on-5 matchups I'm super concerned about from the Calgary side. Chicago has had a very good penalty kill this year. At their best, Calgary's penalty or Chicago's power play, at their best, Calgary's penalty kill has been league average, if not worse. So I think it's Chicago won fairly easily, 14,800, like you said. One thing I always worry about guys with shoulder injuries and them coming back and how healthy they are. Like, we've seen Jack Hughes. He hasn't been scoring since he came back. I guess that's a hand injury, but that's one thing I'm always concerned about. But they've been good at 5-on-5. They're going to get depth matchups perfectly correlated on a power play that's been pretty good this year. For me, it's Chicago 1. I agree on Chicago on the Dickinson line. If you want to dip down, do a cheap 2-man like Dickinson, Mikheyev or something like that, I think that's perfectly fine. They're going to get shut down minutes. Their offensive numbers without Ryan Donato on that line, though, have been pretty bad. Now, I assume they'll be fine with Bertuzzi, but we're just assuming. We don't really know. In my single entries, I think it's Chicago 1 that I really only have interest in from this game. the Calgary side, man, shit's looking bleak there.
Yeah. Speaking of bleak, New York Islanders with a 2.9 total heading into Edmonton. The Oil have a 3.6 total. Islanders going Barzal, Lee, Duclair, Heineman, Drouin, Ritchie, Holmstrom, Peugeot, Shabanov. The only reason I mentioned that third line is because they took Drouin off the top power play and put on Holmstrom, but who really cares? Edmonton going McDavid, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, Puckholes, and Kapanen. Top line for Edmonton, $22,700, by far the most expensive line of the night. $1,800 more than Pitt 1. Those are the only two above 20K. 15.4% top two, 2% projected ownership. Like, that makes me nervous because there are a lot of cheap lines here tonight that are definitely playable. Get a 2% owned McDavid line against the Islanders. Like, it doesn't matter the matchup. Barzal line has been atrocious. The Ritchie line has been atrocious. The Holmstrom line has been atrocious. The defensive pairs have been atrocious. The only thing that has been good is Sorokin, and he got lit up like a Christmas tree the other night. There's only so much he could do, and this is a good power play matchup. The Islanders don't take a ton of penalties, but their penalty kill still isn't that great. Listen, if you want to spend up for Edmonton 1 here, I have no issue with it, especially with the amount of positive leverage that they have. Again, it's the Draisaitl conundrum. They keep getting more expensive. 2-man of McDavid, Draisaitl is $20K. Those two by themselves would be the second most expensive line on the night. So, again, I'd probably just go Edmonton 1 and hope Nugent Hopkins can do something. Because if you add in Draisaitl over Nugent Hopkins, it becomes 26,600. And that's just bonkers. So I probably just go low-owned Edmonton 1 here. If you want a one-off Draisaitl or something like that, I think that's fine as well. But easily my favorite line in this game is Edmonton 1. On the Islanders side, in a nutshell, I don't mind Barzal, Lee, Duclair because they are priced as a filler. But they have a 3.2% top two stack, 9.6% projected ownership. I don't want to play an Islanders line on a 10-game slate with their ownership 3x their top two. So, I'm probably just out on the Islanders.
Yeah. I will say I was looking at some stuff from Anthony Duclair a couple days ago, and he's starting to take more shot volume than he ever really has in an Islanders uniform. Maybe he's finally starting to get healthy. Like you said, that line is basically priced as a filler at this point. If you want me to play an Islanders line coming in whose ownership is going to be 3x their top two stack, it's going to be a hard no for me. If you want to do 2-man of Richie Heineman or Richie Drouin or something like that, I think that's fine. Get away from the Edmonton top pair, go play, some cheap depth. Maybe you need to pair them with Dallas power play or something like that. I guess that's okay. I don't really have much interest in the Islanders here. Tough times with Edmonton. I say it every time we have a big slate. I almost never play lines this at 22,700 on a 10-game slate. Don't see myself doing it tonight. 22,700, the main reason to play them would be because they're only coming in with 2% ownership. They've been great at 5-on-5 lately. Their last 10 games, 5.1 expected goals for per 60. Hyman, 37 shots and 7 goals in his last 10 games. Edmonton 1's my favorite line in this game. Big surprise, but I just don't play lines that expensive. Just one of those nights where I'm kind of hoping that Sorokin can hold his own and Edmonton doesn't fill the net. Other than that, don't really have interest in the Edmonton second line, with Kapanen there. Edmonton depth hasn't done anything all season. So for me, it's Edmonton 1 or bust. Probably just going to fade the Oilers in my single entry and just, let Connor McDavid just silently and kindly slide that knife into my chest late at night.
Yeah, but he's 10,500. So what would he even need? Because even if he had like 40 DK points, right?
I mean, I think you'd take a 40 burger.
I mean, yeah, you'd obviously take a 40 burger, but like he's taking up 20% of your salary by himself. Like you'd have to.
He needs a multi-point game with a shot bonus or a 3-point night is what he needs.
Yeah. And then you got to hit everything else too. So like that's fun. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud again. Dallas Stars, they 3 total heading into Utah. The Soakers, the Mammoth, whatever you want to call them, they also have a 3 total. I think Miro Heiskanen is still out.
Yeah, they confirmed that not that long ago.
I don't exactly know what the Dallas lines are going to be because they absolutely threw them into a blender last game. I would imagine that Hinson and Robertson and Johnston and Rantanen will be together. It's just a matter of, I guess, if like Duchesne's up there or it's Bork or it's Steele. I don't know. We really won't know until warmups. Not super high on Dallas here tonight without Heiskanen anyway. Utah going Keller, Schmaltz, Krause, Genther, Carconi, McBain, Paterka, Hayton, Cheeks. We missed the boat on Genther, Carconi night, Moods, and the coin tosser DJ. They were in on them. Their Discord had a great night. It feels a little chasey going back there, but there's no ownership there at 13,600. And without Heiskanen, there are going to be people out of place. Like Heiskanen and Lindell, elite pair defensively. Once you get past them, that's like league average or worse. Now you have to move up guys out of place. This is a good matchup for Utah. If you want to go back to Genther, Carconi, McBain, like, cool. Like, Genther played 17, whatever. The 2 heaviest minutes were Schmaltz and Krause. Krause was the only one. Like, Nick Schmaltz played 18:05. Him and Krause are the only guys above 17, and Krause played like 19 and change. So I think I would go to Keller, Schmaltz, Krause here at 17,400, 6.3% top 2, 2.5% projected ownership. Like, listen, they have been good in a 60-minute sample, 3.2 expected goals, 6 actual. Their power play hasn't been great, but like, you know, it's a much better 5-on-5 matchup that meets the eye without Heiskanen. Like if Harley moves up or Nils Lundqvist moves up or Ilya Lyubushkin moves up, then you have guys going in that just aren't it. So like I don't mind going back to Utah 1 here. If you want to chase with Genther, Carconi, McBain at 13.6, I think it's fine despite Genther being 7,900. The other guys are really cheap. If you want to go to Hayton, Cheeks, and Paterka at 10,600, if you want to do like Hayton, Cheeks, something like that, if you're doing Edmonton stacks, like fine, but I think I'd go to Utah 1.
Yeah, just to put a point on your Heiskanen and Lindell thing, Thomas Harley was injured, came back on December 9th. Since he came back with Heiskanen and Lindell on the ice, Dallas is giving up 2.3 expected goals against. With them off the ice, it's 3.1. This is not a good defensive team at 5-on-5 when Heiskanen is off the ice and he's not playing. And another thing, on top of that, it's the penalty kill, right? Over the last 5 weeks, the Dallas penalty kill has been below average. Over the course of the season, basically league average. Not that Utah has had a good power play. It's been the bane of their entire season, but it's a solid power play matchup. And again, with no Heiskanen at basically all strengths, right? So pretty good matchup for Utah. Like you said, the top line, 78 shot attempts, 2.6 expected goals per 60. Not really worried about any of the 5-on-5 matchups without Heiskanen on the ice. 17,400. I think this is a perfect night to go right to Utah 1. I think Utah basically has 3 lines in play. I agree with you. It feels chasey to go to the third line. They're fine if you want to play them. The Turka, Hayton, and Cheeks 10,600 is a nice filler if you're playing Edmonton tonight. So, I was looking at the second line without Genther there. 60 shot attempts, 3.4 expected goals per 60. That's still pretty good. They're not getting a ton of ice time, though. It's a top line that's really eating a lot of ice time. I do like Utah 1 here. in the mid-price range. Like if you're looking to stack a couple of mid-price lines, I think you can play them with Minnesota, with Boston, with Buffalo, with Columbus. They pair nice with those highly owned Buffalo and Columbus lines, right? Because Utah 1 is coming in at 2 to 3% ownership. So Utah 1 for me. On the Dallas side, like, listen, man, I've been a big fan of Thomas Harley for like 3 or 4 years. I wanted on Team Canada last year at the World Cup. Eventually he got there because of injury or whatever. He sucked ass this year. I don't mean like underperforming. I mean one of the worst defensemen in the NHL. And it's wild because that guy was great. I mean, legitimately great. A top 10 defenseman for like 2.5 years. And this season, it's like he shouldn't even be in the league. If you want, maybe he has to be playing through some kind of injury. There has to be something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, because guys at his age just don't put up 3 great years in a row and then completely fall off an Eric Goodbranson size cliff. He's got to replace Heiskanen's minutes. I mean, anything can happen in a single game. We'll see what happens. But without Heiskanen, it's like Nils Lundqvist might be, I mean, Lindell's the next best defenseman. It might be Nils Lundqvist is the second best defenseman in the lineup right now for Dallas. Like, I don't have a lot of faith in them moving the puck or generating a ton of offense. Utah is solid defensively. The only time they get into trouble is when their goalies are ass. So as long as the goalies don't fall apart, I think Dallas is going to be in tough here tonight. I guess Robertson hints Bork, but like you said, they might be mixing up the lines anyway, and this is one of the later starts. So a late start without the top defenseman, I mean, by far the best defenseman, especially with the way Harley is playing. Like, I'm just kind of out on Dallas tonight, and I'm just hoping that they don't fill the net. And I honestly think they're going to be in tough again here.
Yeah. Toronto Maple Leafs with a 3.1 total. Heading into Vegas, the Golden Knights have a 3.4. Toronto just skated. Nyes missed due to maintenance, but he's expected to play. I don't know where he's going to be playing, but he's expected to play. Maybe on the third line.
Yeah, I mean, he got moved off last game, so...
We have in top stacks Matthews, McMahon, Domi, Nylander, Tavares, Michelli, Nyes, Roy, Cowan. Vegas going back to Eichel, Stone, Barbashev, Marner, Dorofeyev, Smith, Hurdle, Bowman, Kolasar. They played last night with Akira Schmid in net. So it might be him again, unless they go to Carl Lindblom.
Yeah.
And he's been bad. I do have some interest in Toronto here. You know, there's not much ownership here. Vegas doesn't take a ton of penalties, and they have a good penalty kill. Or maybe they don't have a good penalty kill, but they just don't take a lot of penalties. Yeah, there we go. That's the one. I'm good with a one-off Matthews here. Like, he's coming in. That line's coming in at 2.7%. Maybe he's in at like 4, 5, 6%. You want to two-man him with McMahon if he's there. You know, I think that's fine. One-off William Nylander, two-man with Matthias Michelli. I don't think I'm full stacking anything on the Toronto side. Like, Vegas, you know, has been good defensively. Just, you know, they could be on their fourth goalie here tonight. So one-off Matthews, one-off Nylander, one-off Michelli, something like that. Going back to Vegas here, they played last night. They scored 3 goals. Eichel was in on all of them. You know, the top line, Eichel, Stone, Barbashev, 19,500, 9.8% top 2, 3.3% projected ownership. Like, they're fine, but I'd rather save 7, 8, whatever it is, to go play Washington here. You know, an MME 20 max, they're obviously fine. Same with the second line, 15K, Marner, Dorofeyev, Smith. Cool. You want to leave off Smith, add in Hurdle for more power play. Like, that's fine. It would be Vegas 1 for me. I don't mind some Leafs, you know, especially if it is Lindblom or Schmid on a back-to-back, but it would probably just be one-offs or two-mans.
Yeah. You know, assuming Nyes plays, I'm wondering if he doesn't just come in on the third line. Leafs skated McMahon, Matthews, Domi, which has been a line for the most part over the last handful of games. Michelli, Tavares, Nylander, which has also been a line for, I mean, at least Michelli has been there. Nylander was hurt / sick, obviously. But Michelli, Tavares, Nylander this season, 105 minutes together at 5-on-5, 3.2 expected goals per 60, 5 actual goals per 60. Like, they've been really, really good offensively at 5-on-5, and they're going to avoid, that Mark Stone, Jack Eichel matchup. The matchup against Mark Stone is a brutal one. Once you get to those second and third lines, like, that's where Vegas can get into trouble defensively. So, I don't mind Toronto too here, assuming they do go with Nylander, Tavares, Michelli, 15,300. You get 2 guys on the top power play. No ownership, sub 1% ownership. Avoid the Stone matchup. They've been really, really good at 5-on-5. If you want just one man, one-off Nylander, I think he can do that. If you need a cheap filler one-off, I think you can one-off Michelli. But it's Toronto too that I do have interest in from the Leafs side. It's kind of tough. They're in a price range. Montreal one is only $1,000 more expensive. Columbus one is only $1,100. So, like, there are other lines not that far off. But if you're looking to play a couple mid-price stacks tonight, I think you do consider Toronto too. Vegas just has not been the same defensive team as they typically have been. On the Vegas side, like, it's probably just going right back to the top line. Feels kind of bad considering they had a big night last night. Again, Eichel had 3 assists, Stone had a goal and assist, but 19,500. Eichel, 26 shots in 7 games since he got back. Safe to say he's looking all right. Him and Stone skating like 19 to 21 minutes a game. Even Barbashev is around 16 plus. So they're getting good ice time. Going out against the Toronto top line with Domi there. At certain times they've been all right defensively, depending who the other winger and who the defensemen are on the ice. I don't think you can consistently rely on that. Vegas one, I think, is perfectly fine here, but I'd almost be more tempted to just go play Washington. I will say, like, we have 7 lines priced above 18K here tonight. Factoring in price and ownership, I think my favorite line is still Washington 1, but after that, it would be Vegas. So if you want to go, if you're playing an expensive line, but you don't want much ownership, I think it's Vegas. Otherwise, like, overall, I still prefer Washington. So it's Vegas 1, Toronto 2 in that order for me in this game.
Let's talk about defensemen here. There are a bunch of guys 6K and up. Werenski's 9K here tonight. Then there's Bouchard, Chychrun, Hughes, Heiskanen's out, sorry. Rasmus Dahlin, John Carlson, Rasmus Anderson. Like, Werenski being 9K is kind of crazy, but it is an excellent matchup, and his projection is a whole lot higher than the next guy. I honestly don't mind him in Columbus power play stacks. I think he's fine as a one-off. After that, I don't love the 7K guys. Like, they all can get there for sure, like Bouchard, Chychrun, Hughes. They're all in pretty good power play matchups. It's just like, I think I'd either spend up for Werenski or go into the 6K range with like Rasmus Dahlin, or, go down into the mid range after that. Like, they're fine, but at that point, like, if I'm toying around with playing like Bouchard or Chychrun, I'll find a way to just get Werenski in. So it's like, I know he's 9K and it's a bit ridiculous, but like, it's a great matchup, and I'd probably just play him in the top range. I don't mind Rasmus Dahlin. 7K guys are fine. It's just I'd rather go up to Werenski or go into the mid range.
Yeah, you're right about Werenski. He's projected for 4 more DK points than the next closest defenseman. So even though he's 9K, he has the best point per dollar value of any of the defensemen 6K and above here tonight. Like, the guy's nuts. Werenski's the top play on the board, obviously. It sucks Rasmus Dahlin got 2 goals last night. I think it was on Monday's show we were talking about basically the only difference between this season and last season for Dahlin was a low shooting percentage, and then 2 days later on a 4-game slate, he fires 2 goals. Maybe all the regression came in one game. I guess we'll find out. But Werenski 1, Dahlin 2. Chychrun 7,300 is kind of interesting. He's just coming back. Obviously, he's going to be on the top power play. It's the San Jose Sharks. And the point per dollar value isn't good, but low single-digit ownership, like maybe the best goal-scoring defenseman on the blue line, certainly top 3s in this season, is coming in with low single-digit ownership at home against the San Jose Sharks. That's kind of interesting to me. Mid-price range, defenseman between 4 and 6K. Noah Dobson is at the top of the board. I think that does make sense. Josh Morrissey. If Winnipeg's power play this year was the same as Winnipeg's power play last year, I'd say yes, fire up Josh Morrissey, but it's not. So kind of out on him. Like Charlie McAvoy, I think makes a lot of sense from Boston in a good power play matchup against Seattle. Like Mackenzie Weegar against Chicago. I have more interest in Calgary defensemen than I do Calgary forwards here. I think he's fine at 5,600. It's not a good power play matchup for Calgary. I mean, it never is for the Flames, but this particularly isn't a very good one, but he does put up good peripherals. Under 5K, Ivan Provorov. Not that I'm generally a big fan of Provorov, but he did play 25 minutes last game, 25 minutes the game before. He's going to play a bunch of minutes here tonight in a very good matchup. Mattias Ekholm projects well. Vince Dunn. Assuming Brandon Montour is not back tonight, I do like Vince Dunn. Under 4K, Matty Roy. I mean, every single Washington defenseman against San Jose is in play here tonight. Artem Levshunov, of the cheap defenseman here tonight, actually has the highest projection. 3,600, 2.3 fantasy points per $1,000. So I think Levshunov makes a lot of sense. Jake Wallman is only 3,500 for Edmonton. Matthias Samuelsson, the guy can't stop scoring. He's up to 8 goals this season or something. It's just okay. Zadorov from Boston is perfectly fine. Under 3K, the Chicago duo, Louis Crevier and Connor Murphy. Alex Carrier from Montreal, under 3K as well. And Jake McCabe is projecting well for Toronto for under 3,000.
Let's talk about goalies here. Top range is a bag of ass again. Probably be Jesper Wallstedt for me up in the top range at 8,200. I think Logan Thompson also fine at 8,300. No interest really in Ingram, Skinner, Merzlikins. I guess Swayman is playable. I'd rather just play Joey Decord in the same matchup. Spencer Knight at 7,900 sticks out like a sore thumb. I like him in the mid-range. Joey Woll, 7,500, I think is fine. Dustin Wolf is all right as well at 7,500. Joey Decord, 7,400 against Boston. If Seattle wins that game, probably on the back of Joey Decord. And then Connor Hellebuck at 7,200. Like, that's just too cheap for Connor Hellebuck. If Kolosov does start, he is min price. Pittsburgh has some puck moving issues. So, just be aware that there could be a min price starter here tonight.
Yeah, I will say, just flat out, I don't mind Kolosov in that matchup against Pittsburgh without Carlson at 6,500. Seems like he's very much in play. The top projected goalie here tonight is Wallstedt, but Spencer Knight has the best fantasy point per dollar projection. I really do like Knight at home against Calgary here. So Knight and Wallstedt would be 1 and 2 for me. Jeremy Swayman, very playable at 8K at home against Seattle. As long as Seattle's power play doesn't shred Boston, I think Swayman will be fine. But again, Seattle top unit has been good, so it does worry me a little bit. I'd rather probably just play Knight or Wallstedt at a similar price and similar ownership. Cheaper goalies, Joseph Woll, 7,500 for Toronto, very much in play here. Connor Hellebuck, like you said, 7,200 against Minnesota. Again, Winnipeg of this year is not Winnipeg of last year, but 7,200 against Minnesota Wild, perfectly fine. another cheap guy I don't mind here tonight is Dustin Wolf. So 7,500 against Chicago. So Wolf, Hellebuck, Joseph Woll are the guys 7,500 or less that I like here.
We will be back tomorrow, 5-game slate on the board. So look forward to that. I know some people had some issues finding the stream here today. If you follow us on Twitter, we always tweet out the link at Slim Cliffy and at JRH002DFS. Who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
Well, they're in a pretty good matchup, so it's not like too far off the board, but we'll go with Ryan Leonard.
Ryan Leonardo. I would be remiss if I don't name one of my boys here tonight. It's Kent Johnson night, my friends.
All right.
But yeah, we will be back tomorrow. Good luck, everybody, tonight. We'll see you in Discord. Please blow up the roster, Rangers.
Good luck tonight, everyone.